There we go. Hi. There you guys. Fun to be here. Excited. So, I think we're gonna have fun this morning. We have to get our Prelude tab finished. We might try adding a little bit more shading color to our little wire collection over here. I'm still not super happy with how they are, but again, I still think they're I should still be able to save them, hopefully. Because, yeah, I like where they're going. It's just a question of if, by the time I'm done, if it'll match the rest of the illustrations well enough for it to stay. So, I'm just pulling this back. But yeah, let's get started because, yeah, let's see if we can finish this baby up. Now, the thing I was thinking about actually today was the fact that when it comes to like these technical ink drawings, so it's a little different when it comes to the like where it actually has color and it's like a specific object. But the technical things, I actually think we can get away with doing like whatever color we want because I can adjust whatever shade I went with very easily in post. So I do think I'm going to be less worried about that than I was before. Also, I wasn't happy with how dark this was, and how it didn't really feel blended enough when it came to the shadow I added in. So I went a little dark on the shadow. So I'm just wanting to blend it ever so slightly, which I think that already helps quite a bit. Okay, now we're good. That's what I was hoping for. Now, harmonies and Pretty La Top are very different parts of it, so I'm going to do D. And let's quickly add our wash to it. Again, it doesn't matter as much. So more I want to get the right colors that I can manipulate it in post fairly easily. So I actually think I can try a purple. So we're gonna like super soak it and then just like ooh, something got on the paper there. I'm curious what that was. Okay, and I just want to add just barely any at all some of this darker purple. Although that's almost like too much of a, I don't know. I think actually I want to go like quite a bit darker. Yeah. And just barely any pink. I'm just gonna super blend it. Ooh, I like how that one turned out. Yeah, I actually really like the look of how that turned out. Ah, ta-da! There we go. Okay, once that dries, I'm gonna re-ink it. Because I do think that makes a big difference. Okay, I'm gonna empty this brush out. And then I want to experiment a little bit more with adding some darker color to this. So let's see what we can do. So I'm curious if we add kind of a yellowish wash to this, what that is going to do. Okay, already that's looking a little bit better. Okay, and then we're gonna go these darker colors. Well, not darker colors, these other browns, because I think that's going to make a big difference on these. Yeah, already that's kind of making a difference. Yeah, I was struggling. It's gonna go a little bit better. Okay, then we're gonna go even darker. The back side of this. I don't even know if I'm going dark enough on this. Yeah, I think we're going in a better direction. It's looking a little better. Okay, here we go. Good morning, by the way. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, we're kind of seeing if I can save this liar picture. It is not the best drawing that I've done, for sure. But like, it could be much worse. Is hence why like I don't. I'm trying to see if I can save it. Yeah, because like that's already looking significantly better because it was looking pretty bad. I have like an arrangement of the Alolan theme song. So Sun and Moon and Sun and Moon Ultimate. I have like an arrangement of those two stuck together in my head. I think it would be. I think you could actually do a cool one like that, but it's not something I'm trying to do right now. Okay, I think already that looks much better than it did before because that was looking pretty bad. And the shading and shadows already like significantly made that much, much better. So I'm already much happier with how that's going. Yeah, I kind of like that now. I think it's gonna work. I think this is gonna work now. So, yay! That is good news. Very good news, actually. Because yeah, the less paintings I have to redo, the better. Which right now I do have to redo. But I don't think because this is going to be small. It's going to be a small part of this. So I think the way it is right now, I can get away with leaving it like that. And as long as I like shrink it down a little bit, I think it's still going to fit. Um, so yay. Now let's see. Done. So about a week ago, we went ahead and we went through and made a list of the illustrations we still need to do. And yeah, we're not doing that. Mostly there's a few that I'm just not quite sure what I'm going to do yet. So I need to decide that. Oh, I did that one. That is exciting. The up close string types. Okay. Oh, and I did harmonic markings. Very good. I don't know what I'm going to do for that. That is a tricky one. Intervals. Oh, I could do intervals. That's one I could do. I'm gonna have to go a little bit smaller, but I think I can do it. So an interval, when it really with any instrument, an interval is the distance between two notes. So it kind of depends on what I'm wanting it to be displayed as. So I think I'm going to do it as like second, third, fourth, fifth, and do like a bunch of chords in a row and see how that works. And to make it as exciting as possible, I think I'm just going to do it with pen right off the bat. You guys ready? Let's see if I can nail this. Yeah, I think this will work. But let's see. We're gonna do just treble clef all the way across. I actually like using this. I'm using the edge of a tiny canvas, and what I didn't realize is it gives it this very like kind of slightly rougher. I'm gonna have to do this for all of my straight lines. This is actually really cool. So hopefully you can kind of see it. I remember as a kid thinking back on why all my theory books had me draw so many treble clefs. And I still don't think the average musician needs to be able to do that. But I guess for me, it has paid off. So thank you, music theory books, for preparing me to draw with ink a bunch of treble clefs. That was actually kind of fun. Hey! Agreed. Yeah, it's good morning. Or I don't know what time of day it is for you. But for me, good morning from yeah, out here. How are you doing this morning? Mhm. Right now, I am working on my illustration for the word intervals. So, fun. Um, ah, that was too tall. I think that will work though. Okay, and then yeah, so this morning I've been working on finishing my Parade de la Table, which is a fun harp technique. Oh, oh, fun. Nice. Very cool. I always find it interesting to see where people are tuning in from because for me it is almost 7 a.m. Um, so I always find it interesting because I think because I go that early, I end up with people from a lot of different places compared to if I did like a later time here. I do it at this time for practical reasons that I am done, you know, before I can do this before my day begins. But I always find it interesting to see where people are coming from. 2 p.m. I didn't realize England was that far ahead. That's so cool. Very interesting. I am more familiar with time zones than probably the average American is. But I'm not as familiar of like the time differences between like the US and Europe. That's a time zone like I'm not as comfortable with like just figuring out. So I always find it interesting to see exactly what the time difference is. I have students in China. So with them, I'm comfortable like figuring out the time difference between China and the US. But yeah, England. I've never really known anybody in England, so it's always interesting. Very cool. Also, nice to know. I do not. I think if you talk to most most Americans, most of them have do not like the daylight savings. I really hate daylight savings. And what's hilarious is there are a couple of states in the US that don't follow daylight savings at all. And then the rest of the US does it at a weird time of year. It is such. I didn't even realize I had that mod on, but I did see your comment. Yeah. I think the funny thing though is I think in modern times, even farmers don't really like it either. Um, like my we have a couple of family members who have a couple of dairy farmers and a couple other ones, and like I don't know other friends who are farmers. I live in rural Midwest of the U.S. and all the farmers we know hate it. I get the thinking when they first came out, but honestly, I think it's worn out its welcome. Is my own personal opinion. And I have to say, I have students who are in the states that don't follow daylight savings at all, and that's just a pain in the neck because twice a year we have to figure out like, okay, what time is it for you? Okay, that means we have to move our lesson this way. And I think it was only this year that I finally was able to do it without like having to go through some like complicated. Okay, what time is it there for you guys? Because I don't know. Uh, yeah, I just would be okay with it just being done. Yeah, exactly. It isn't. And it just throws off our sleep so much. I think we could get away with it without it. But mm, exactly, exactly. Well, and I think the thing is like farmers, what the clock says doesn't necessarily mean what time they're gonna get up. Exactly. Oh yeah. You have, well, and like in the South. So I lived in the South for most of my childhood. Like in the South, your daylight hours don't really change substantially. It changes by maybe like 1 or 2 hours. But then you come north and suddenly, for where we are, our daylight hours shift substantially. In the summer, it's light till almost 10 p.m. And in the winter, it's dark by like 4 p.m. So yeah, like you said, it's the daylight hours also are just so different that, yeah, I just, I wish they would just keep it all the same. It would be fantastic. But whatever. The big deal, right? Hmm. Now that, yeah, that is true. But again, I think my big argument would be why do we need to change the clocks for the farmers on that? Because, why does normal life have to change when they can just get up earlier or later if they need to do it that way? So I do get the idea around it, but it does seem antiquated in the fact that, especially with electricity, although yes, it's just I guess my thing has always just been like, so I guess I'll put it this way. So I guess this is my thing is I, what I do personally is I teach, so China does not um, follow daylight savings. They don't do daylight savings at all. So twice a year, when I teach um, my students from China, I change my schedule. And so I'll get up earlier or go to bed, get up earlier or get up later based on daylight savings so I can keep the same schedule with them. And for those students, for me personally, my schedule changes. I move up an hour or back an hour. But with the rest of my life, everything switches an hour. So I guess the question I have is why don't we let farmers do that approach? Because I do get the value of farmers. That I do get. It's the changing the way we measure time is my debate on the whole thing is why can they not adapt their schedules an hour forward or an hour back? I guess would be my big question. But yes, daylight savings. My personal opinion is that it is not the most practical thing for modern day life. Mhm. Oh yeah. Okay, I can see that. So why don't we just adjust it, an hour earlier and keep it there? I guess. I guess so. I guess there are arguments for it, but I still don't like it. True, true. But you also have the stats of how many more deaths, car wrecks, um, and problems that happen twice a year right around daylight savings because you have people losing an hour of sleep or gaining an hour of sleep and then doing stupid decisions. So you also have those statistics of, okay, energy consumption and all of that. But uh, because it affects both sides of the thing, and we have so many people who work night shifts or lights that stay on all the time, I think you could also argue that the switching everybody's time twice a year could all by not doing that you'd almost save money as well and energy and stuff as people get used to. So I don't know. I think there's arguments both ways. Unfortunately, though, I have to run because I have to get children off to school. I've enjoyed this discussion, though. You have brought up points around like supporting daylight savings that I've never seen brought up, and it is going to make me think about the pros and cons of daylight savings a little bit differently, which does not happen very often. I've basically just been super anti-daylight savings, but you brought up some points that I've never seen brought up before. Hey, I totally feel that. Well, I enjoyed the discussion. It was fun. And yeah, have a wonderful rest of your day. Okay, see ya.